My name is Mike McNally. This is my first YouTube video, and today I'd like to talk about what I think is the best way to learn to fully utilize the guitar neck. If we want to put the whole guitar neck to its best possible use, we want to be able to play rhythm anywhere on the neck. We want to be able to solo, not just anywhere on the neck, but fluidly up the neck. We want to be able to integrate into our solos the use of intervals and triads from chords. So this is our goal, and we start by first looking for the most useful chords to do that by looking for bar chords and chords that utilize the most strings. We want chords that utilize 5 and 6 strings of the guitar, so that we have different voicings to choose from, and we have a very full chord that is referred to as a power chord oftentimes. And we find out quickly that there aren't that many chords like that. So actually the 5 chords of the CAGED system are an excellent choice of chords to focus in on. And these chords work such that if we think of them as 5 shapes, we can play them in order: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 1 repeats after that, and it continues on. You've got a long electric guitar neck. It just flows all the way up the neck, and each transition from shape 1 to shape 2, your index finger goes where your pinky finger was. There's no gaps. It's an overlapping system of chords that give you the ability to play rhythm all up and down the guitar neck. So our next question is, where are we going to learn the scales, and how many scales are we going to learn? Now, I'm making this video today because the operation I had has collapsed my finances, and it's time to start making YouTube videos and see if I can make some money there. I hadn't played guitar for 40 years, and I've created some technical drawings that I believe are the best possible integration of information to unlock the guitar neck for you. And I'm going to provide these drawings to you for free, but I'll provide them at kind of a lower resolution, and it's my hope that you'll find them so useful that you'll be using them from day one, starting as a guitar player, to, you know, after you've been playing for 4 or 5 years, you may still be referring back to these drawings because the information is excellent. I got 4 layers of information. Let's go to those drawings right now and take a look at how to create this ability that I just talked about. Okay, what we're looking at here is one of the 5 shapes of the CAGED system. The best place to learn the CAGED system is in the center of the neck. So I like to think of the C shape as actually the E shape, what you're seeing here. These drawings that I've created have 5 layers of data, which will be your best reference for how to learn the guitar neck. And I'm providing the complete set of drawings to you for free at a lower resolution. The 4 sets of data are the shape of the chord, the location of the scale, the voicing of the chord, and the extra notes which allow you to change the voicing further that you see here. So that's the 4 layers of data on each of the chord diagrams. Now let's look at the overall diagram. Here we see the 5 chords of the CAGED system, the 5 major chords shown at the top. The middle row are the minor 7 derivatives of those chords, and the bottom row are the minor derivatives from those chords. Now let's focus in on just the major chords. The order of the major chords shown here is the order of the flow up the neck. But there's a second order, and that's the order that we want to practice the scales in. We're going to learn a major scale for each of these chord shapes, and we're going to start with B, and then we're going to continue kind of backwards around the circle of fifths, which is we're going to proceed in the order of fourths, where the fourth note in the scale is E. So we'll go from B to E to A to D to G, which is an odd order, but we're going to start here with the root on the B scale. We'll play an octave. At first we're just going to learn an octave. We'll play an octave up, an octave down, and then we're going to play arpeggios, which I think are good to learn and just kind of get settled into muscle memory. The reason for this is because your odd notes are going to be the notes of the tonic chord, and your even notes are going to be the notes of the subdominant or the fourth chord of the harmony of the song. Typically, that is. And so we play 1, 3, 5, 7, 8, 6, 4, 2, 3, 5, 7, 8, 6, 4, and we end on 4, the 4 being our starting note for our next scale here at the root of E. Again, we play an octave up, down, the same arpeggios ending at 4. This time we want to drop down an octave to the 4 note on the 6th string, and that's where we start here at the root of the A shape. Octave up, octave down, arpeggios ending at 4, which is our starting note for the D shape here. Octave up, octave down, arpeggios ending at 4, and this is where we slide up 1 fret. And we move to G here, start with the index finger on the root, and now we're ready to play 5 scales, 1 position up. And it goes that way. You could do this continuously all the way up the guitar neck. And that's how you learn the scales. Now these scales are very similar to the pentatonic scales. The pentatonic shapes are more or less in the same positions. They're making use of the fact that you want to know the scale where you've got a chord that goes with the scale. So this is the same, except that I believe instead of having somebody else choose which 5 notes you should play, I think that you can do better if you choose the 5 notes yourself. And so you just make adjustments with each song as you start playing. Typically, if you've chosen the right key, the 1 and the 5 are going to be sweet notes that sound really good, and the 3 would be less so. The 7 often is the 7th note is often one that you kind of stay away from. You could use it as a grace note, but sometimes it's in transition between. It's sometimes the 7 note is better played as a flatted 7th. Sometimes if the song gets real bluesy, the flatted 7th becomes a go-to note. These choices aren't available with the pentatonic scale shapes. They've made the choices for you. You don't need that. You need to make the decision for yourself. So you're going to learn the major scales just like I showed you here, and this is the way to go. Now I'd like to show you an addendum sheet of chord shapes, which is the jazz chords. Here they are, and they're based on the A form and D form from the CAGED system, and these jazz chords will be of great use to you. Don't pay any attention to the scales on anything but the CAGED system major major chord diagrams, because I drew in the other scales by looking at a theory book as to what is the most common use of this type of chord, and there was listed what mode of scale you would use when the chord was used in that manner. And I, as an exercise for myself to try and understand the modal system, I drew in these modal scales for the typical use of the chord. Now the modal system, the mode of scale you would use depends on where and how the chord is used. But it was just an exercise. The modal system isn't really necessary if you just play in the key. You know, if the song's in the key of C, use the C scale. Now maybe it gets a little bluesy and you start using a flatted seventh, but just use the C scale. You don't have to worry about modal things through other chord changes. And so that's the jazz chords. Now there's one more drawing which I made, which is the circle fifths. Yeah. Now the two drawings I've shown you so far, the CAGED system drawings and the jazz chord drawings, I'm showing to you at 15% of resolution, so that you might be motivated to cough up $4 and get the full resolution. But the circle fifths drawing I'm going to give to you at full resolution, because everybody's just got to have that, and it's anywhere. Just so here it is. Testing. Okay. I forgot to tell you about the second and third stage of learning the scales. So far you just know one scale in each of the five shapes of the CAGED system. And not one scale, one octave. And one octave isn't enough to start improvising along with CD-ROMs or laying down a rhythm. You need to go back and look at the two shapes that begin on the sixth string and learn the second octave that exists for those two shapes. And then you need to look at the G shape, and you can see that there's almost a second octave below. So learn that octave going down, and when you reach down to hit the low G, don't catch it with your index finger, catch it with your middle finger, and that puts you in position to play the A shape back up into the G shape. You play the A shape back up one octave from the middle finger sixth string starting point, and when you get one octave up to the one note with your pinky, you slide your index finger up there, and now you're ready to continue on in the G shape. Now at this point you know two octaves on two of the shapes, and you know two octaves on one of the shapes with the transition to the other shape. You're only weak in that the two fifth string shapes you only know one octave. But at this point I really think that you could start playing along with some things. And if you find you need to know more notes, when you find you need to know more notes to play with the two fifth string shapes, just fill that in. And there's so few, there isn't a whole octave either on top or on the bottom, so when you start learning that, you get to a song or a chord progression, and you think that the chords sound really good with those fifth string starting shapes. Then what you need to do is learn how they transition from the prior shape to that shape, and from that shape to the next shape, and which of course is the third phase of learning the scales. When you finally have learned the scales completely, you should be able to play a scale right up through all 5 shapes. And it wouldn't hurt to be able to play arpeggios up through all 5 shapes and back down. If you could do that, man, this would just, you would have so much ability soloing. You could flow so gorgeously across the guitar neck. And this is what I'm going to try and do. I've only been playing guitar now after 40 years of not playing. I've been playing, I think I bought a new guitar and started playing a lot in like July or something, or August. And so I've been playing about 4 months, and I'm ready to start soloing. And once I do that, then I'll start filling in. And I hope that these I hope that you see that this is a good method, because if you do, then a bunch of people will want to get the full resolution drawings. I'm going to put this YouTube video up on YouTube, and then I'm going to start working on setting up like something like a Shopify site, and I'll later add a link down below so that you have a spot to go and get the full resolution drawings. Thank you. Goodbye.